for the impromptu acceptance. So this was not planned, but since he is here, he showed interest, and I'm sure when he speak about our product, it would be more creditability for us. So Anwesh, I feel there are too many tax reforms happening. It is very common in the tax industry, but like, isn't it too many, too frequent recently? What's your thought about it?
No. There was a time when I was a student, the tax compliances was related to your calendar. So once in a month, once in 3 months, or once in 6 months, you had to comply with the taxes. But now, since 2017, the tax laws have undergone a massive reform, and probably on a daily basis, we are seeing one or the other notification which says, the tax rate either has gone up or down, or the compliances, returns, frequency, and everything has changed. So answering your question, yes, there is a lot of changes that we are seeing. And earlier, we could afford to have an accounting software, a separate one, and a compliance software. So at the end of every month, you could generate a report from your accounting software, go to your CA or your accountant, give those reports to him and ask him to file your returns. But now the compliance is built into every transaction level. So whenever you're generating an invoice, you need to keep in mind of TDS, TCS, generating a e-way bill, generating an e-invoice. So the list goes on. So that is where I believe the role of Zoho Books comes in, and having just one software for both your accounting requirement as well as your compliance requirement is needed.
Yeah, right. And not just in India, across the globe this is happening. Like for example, cloud software was mandated by the UK government to be compliant with MTD. Like with respect to payroll, new wage code policies have been, mandated recently. There has been moderations recently. E-invoicing is mandated in a lot of countries. It has become quite important to follow up on the tax reformations which are happening, and it has become crucial for the accounting softwares and the payroll softwares or any finance applications to be keeping up with it. So if you ask, how do we do that? Are we prepared for it? If I ask you, what would be your question? What would be your answer? We are is our answer, and how do we do with Zoho is what we are going to let you know. So before we get into compliance, just to give you a quick history on how we began. So we started with an invoicing application which takes care of your complete billing necessity. You can, generate online pay. You can collect online payments via the invoicing application. And then slowly we ventured into the complete accounting application, end-to-end accounting application with which you can do your AR, AP, inventory tracking, bank reconciliation, generate your accounting and financial reports. And then we slowly ventured into other domains like the complete expense management application, inventory management applications. To run your subscription business, we give you an end-to-end subscription application also. We also give you a PCI compliant payment page where your clients can simply collect the payment. Beyond that, we also have a commerce platform to do your order management. And all of this are integrated with each other. So you do not have to go for different applications to handle your different financial processes and then struggle with having all of that consolidated into a place. So all of this are integrated. Now, beyond the suite which I explained, now we are extensible. Okay, so you can do integrations with other applications. We have open APIs, we have connectors, we have webhooks. So you can extend your finance applications beyond the accounting applications or beyond just the financial application, right? So we provide you a complete platform around this suite. We are also partnered with technology partners, consultants, banks to further expand. And the Zoho Finance applications are quite customizable in nature. So according to your client's business, you can customize it to an extent. And also automate the workflows so that you don't get into the usual, manual data entry process, which is known in the accounting industry. So with respect to compliance, as an accounting application, we are country specifically compliant in 14 countries. So we have 14 editions. To name a few, like in India, of course, you know, we are a GST compliant application, accounting application. We are one of the GSTs, GST Suvidha providers. So you can even file your GST returns right from here. You can do your e-invoice generation, e-way bill generation, all of that right from the application. In UK, we are LTD compliant and you can do your filing in the HMRC portal right from Zoho Books. So in UAE, we are VAT compliant. We have editions in other Middle East countries as well. And we are like ZATCA approved and we are FTA approved. And even recently, we launched Kenyan edition and Mexico edition too. So let me walk you through, the editions which we have. I already named them, of course, but just if you want to have a look, like we have UAE VAT Bahrain edition, and within India, like things kept changing as Anwesh said. So we have e-invoicing was introduced, e-way bill was introduced. Would you like to talk about it?
Yes. So now Zoho Books was launched in the year 2011 and it took a massive upgrade in the year 2017 when GST was introduced. And I can say that this is one of the biggest flex for Zoho Books, that Indian GST is one of the most complicated tax law in whole world. And if a company can cater, or if a company can solve India's GST problem, then definitely it can solve, as the sir asked, how it can solve different problems. Yes, because GST laws, if you can do it, they also have country specific tax editions and also general edition or a global edition where you yourself can configure your taxes and then you can generate the reports. Now talking about India, so 2017 Zoho Books became compliant with Zoho, and it is also one of the GST Suvidha providers. And in 2018 there was a direct bank integration. That means there are two things. One is a connected banking, where you can do all your banking activities right within the Zoho software itself, all your payments that you can directly process within the application. And also there is integration. So if it is not a connected banking, but you still want to import all your banking feeds, you can just connect your bank with the Zoho Books application, and as and when you do the transaction on real-time basis, not on exact real-time basis, but with a little bit of lag, the transaction gets imported to your Zoho Books and you can do the reconciliation if you want on your daily basis as well. Now in 2018, where the e-way bill was mandated, Zoho Books provided e-way bill as well. So now talking about e-way bill and e-invoicing, these two things which I want to take it up simultaneously, is you don't have to go to a different interface or a different page to create a e-way bill or your e-invoicing. It is as simple process of clicking and generating your invoice, and then there is a one click of a button you can generate e-way bill, another click of a button you can generate your e-invoicing. So within the same interface you'll be compliant with all the tax laws. Now this is the interface, and I must say that personally, as a not as Zoho insider, as an outsider, the UI is very simple and easy to understand even for a ultimate user. That there is always the status, there is all the green color buttons. If you can see it, says whether it is, it says e-invoice is yet to be pushed. That means invoice is created but it's not generated. But you click the button, it says e-invoice is pushed to the portal and e-invoice is generated and it is sent to the client, and you can generate multiple reports as and when you go. So this is as well as e-way bill. Now again, e-way bill also, you don't have to go to another page. The same page itself where you are generating e-invoice, there is one more button to generate e-way bill. There you just put your vehicle number and destination, other things, just very little information that you add, and e-way bill also will be generated. And talking about your GST filing, so now you generate all the invoices, and at the end of the month, if you want to generate your GSTR1, it is a single click of a button. From this port, the Zoho Books itself, you can directly file your GSTR1. Now talking as far as GSTR3B is concerned, again, you can push GSTR3B to the GST portal, and only GSTR3B you are supposed to go to the portal and file it. You are just supposed to put your EVC and file it there, but pushing part can happen from your Zoho software itself. Now the best part about Zoho compliance is that we understand that there are certain sections in GST that mandates that without having a copy of the invoice, you're not supposed to claim ITC. Now, not just Zoho Books, in Zoho Expense, you can actually set rules which says that an employee cannot add a bill without uploading the photo of the bill copy. So which will enable at the transaction level itself that you can also add custom fields in which you can enable the employee to say that whether it is a personal expenditure, whether it is totally taxable, totally exempt, or total ITC is available or not. So this type of transaction detail capturing happens at a user level. So for chartered accountants or for accountants at the end of the month or at the end of the year to do GST annual return, this becomes a very handy, very easy process because complete documentation along with audit trail is within Zoho Books itself.
Thanks, Anwesh. So he's clearly a product expert. Yeah. So I hope you had a detailed vision on how it is compliant in India. We spoke about other countries as well, so we thought we'll give you a sneak peek of how it looks like in other editions too. So in the Canada edition, which we have, you can configure your taxes as per what is needed in Canada and create your transactions with those taxes. And hence your GST or HST returns, which means the report which should be used for the filing, would get generated in Zoho Books. And once you file them in the portal, you can mark them as filed here. So with respect to UAE, so we are VAT compliant. So in India, how we have different GST treatments, in UAE also they have different treatments. So a contact can be configured for each of the treatment as per whatever treatment they have, and then the transactions get created accordingly. And a VAT return report will also get generated. You can use this for filing, and once you file, you can mark them as filed. Accordingly, the journal entries for if there is any payment, all that can be recorded. Next is UK. So in UK also you have different treatments, and as per the services which you are providing, you might have to do quite a number of settings at the tax settings which we have at Zoho Books. And then again at the contact level, you can mark the treatment, and hence your transactions will be created according to the treatments and the settings which you have done. Your VAT filing reports can be generated. In UK, we have option to directly file your returns at HMRC, and then it will get automatically marked as filed here. And again, if any entries are to be passed, that would be done. How is it in Australia? So we again the same concepts which I spoke before. So here it is BAS report which gets generated, which can be used for filing there. So of course US was the first edition which we launched, and there again as per the tax rates in US, you can configure them because they have different states, so it would be different. You can configure them, and if there are any exemptions there, you can mark all of that. And there 1099 report is what they generate. So that gets automatically generated in Zoho Books, which can be used by you. So these are some country-specific editions which I said. But if you have clients in any other locations, for example, we have a lot of people coming in from Nigeria, South Africa, and West Africa, asking us, do you have anything for us? Yes. So we have a global solutions. Okay. So where you can use this as an accounting application, absolutely. You can configure the taxes yourself, like as per your country needs, and create the transaction with those taxes. A general tax report will get generated. We do not promise you that it will be, as per the returns which you have in your country, but at the transaction level, you will have the tax reports generated. But of course, you can use it as an accounting application. So your general AR, AP, balance sheet, profit and loss, journal reports, ledger reports, all these can be generated. So now let's talk about payroll. So in India, we have a payroll in Indian edition, and in some of the states of US also we have. So I wouldn't say payroll has a global edition because payroll is very specific to country, and in some countries it's very specific to state as well. So in India we have a payroll, and in US some of the states we have payroll. So with the payroll application which we have, all your components which is required, like the PT, ESI, LWF, PF, the TDS deductions, or the Form 16 generations, payslip generations, all of that happen like breeze. So once you set up, for the first time when you're coming to Zoho payroll, that is it. After that, your monthly, the payroll payrolls which you need to run, or the pay slips which should go to your employees, all of that happens like almost automatically or very minimum effort from your end. So just to give you, its payroll is pretty much same everywhere. It is the same components. Just giving you a brief of how easily you can set it up in Zoho payroll. So with respect to, like, for example, I just cover the statutory components and the salary components. So if it is, EPF, all you have to do is just provide the EPF number, and are you eligible for the ARBY scheme, and then what is the cycle, and that is it, you're done. The next, if it's like configuration of the professional tax, since it would be different for each of the state, in Zoho Payroll, we allow you to configure your work locations. If you have multiple work locations, then according to that, you can just mention what is your professional tax number, and then what would be the cycle for each of the state, and that is it. With respect to ESI, you just enable it like whether you want ESI or not, because it belongs to a particular category only. The employees with a particular salary category, and you just enable it, provide the ESI number. That's it. For labor welfare fund, you just enable it like you want it or not, and that is it. So when you generate your pay slips for your employees, all of this will be considered, and automatically the pay slips will be generated. You wouldn't have to do anything at on a daily basis or a monthly basis. So at the salary components level also, like what would be the earnings, deductions, whether it will be pre-tax, post-tax, or if you provide reimbursements, which could be at the employee level or the work location level or at the organization level. All of that you can do a single setup. And yes, of course, if it would be changing later, we will allow you to edit it. Once you do that setup, the parent process just happens like a breeze. And of course, payroll, as I said, it needs to be a very compliant application for that country. And if not, no one would release it. So since we have Zoho payroll and Zoho runs on Zoho payroll, you can definitely consider this as a very compliant application. So the reports which you will need from the payroll application, all of that are also like inbuilt available here. Like to name a few, like the PT summary report or the tax deduction reports, or even in tax deduction whether it is a pre-tax or a post-tax. Like if you have LOPs for your employees, that summary report, payroll journal reports, all that default reports will be available here. Since the payroll and the accounting application is integrated here, when you run the parent here, automatically it posts the accounting entry in the accounting application. So you don't have to another manual data entry there. And we have integrations with bank as well. So you can even pay your employees directly from the payroll application. So we have integrations like with HSBC or ICICI. So you not just generate the parent, but you also give them the salary right from the application. Anwesh, you told me you do your expense management with our Zoho Expense, right? So what is your view with respect to compliance there?
Okay. So when I was a student, and we would normally go for auditing, and we would find lot of client expenditures, client expenses, the bills. And if you have seen these bills, it will be a small receipt with the very light ink which fades for a period of time. So after 3 or 4 months, you can barely see anything. And it was a tedious challenge for us. At the end of the audit period, we would put some flashlight into it to see the figures, whether these figures are proper or not. Now, when the law requires, when the law mandates that you have to preserve your records for 6 years, 8 years, sometimes even 10 years, so you can't do the same thing with the physical records, because you need to preserve these bills, expenditures in a software for a longer period of time. So that is where Zoho Expense comes into picture. The first thing is it detects fraud easily. Now, what type of fraud it is? For example, let us say that fraud can be intentional one, or sometimes it could be unintentional one also. For example, if the same bill is submitted twice, maybe once it is submitted in month 1 and again it is submitted in another month. Now, if the person who is approving these expenses, if they happens to be two different parties, or if the transactions are so voluminous that a person cannot possibly remember this transaction, so that is where the AI comes into picture. So the moment all that you're supposed to do is take the bill, take a picture of it, Zoho automatically captures it, and you don't have to pass any entry. The AI captures the entry, And if you agree with it, you accept it. But somewhere, if you don't agree with it, for example, you may have a food expenditure, but you don't want to charge it to refreshment, but you want to charge it for accommodation for some reason. You can change the chart of accounts, you can charge it to particular accounts as well. So that level of freedom is given to you. And also, there are multiple levels. So there is a submitter level, that is where the people actually submit the expenditure, and there are approvers who actually approve a particular expense that has been submitted by your submitter, and then there is an admin who has an access to all types of expenditure. And talking about view violations instantly. Now, as an organization, you can have your policies. You may say that an employee, if you are incurring expenditure for the 1 month, you are supposed to submit in within next 7 days. You can't keep the same bill for the next 7 months, and at the end of the 8th month, you submit your expenditure. So, if you have such policies, and if the employees are not submitting within that particular period of time, then if they're submitting later, then the software itself will throw an error message or violation report, and it will allow the employee to comply with your organizational policies. Then yes, as I was talking, certain tax laws requires you to have a physical copy of the bill. So you can set up policies. You can set up the policies in the software itself, where without uploading the bill, that invoice or the bill won't be accepted. So this policy, you can set it. If you say that I don't want bill, that is also possible. But if you want the other way around, that is also possible. And yes, not only from, we understand that the audit trail is a requirement as far as India is concerned from an MCA. But the expense audit trail is also possible, and it is available in Zoho Expense suite. So you actually can see from the beginning of the time, from the beginning of your organization, what expense is created, who has approved it, who has rejected it, all the transaction trail, all the audit trail will be available in this particular software. So answering your question, yes, we use Zoho Expense in our office to for all the reimbursement of the employees.
Right. So one more perspective, with respect to expense compliance, like you must be thinking, like, why are we talking about expense here? So in some countries, they have policies on what should be the per diem amount which you are giving to the expenses. It differs for the states and the countries. So such is the compliance with respect to the expense also. And of course, at the organization level, you will have policies, and in the organization, maybe at the work location level, you will have policies. So all of that could be configured here and audited and of course maintained here. So to answer, Anvesh, what would you say? Are we global compliant?
Yes.
Okay, so we are moving towards it. So as I said, we have 14 specific country editions, and of course for other countries we have global edition, but we are working towards having an edition for every country as possible, because that's our ultimate goal as a finance applications. So thank you, and we hope you are also ready to expand with us, choose our application, start with a new one for maybe with India, and along with us, you can also expand across the globe.